This is my first time with the mic, so we'll see what happens. All right, so our project is ATV safety, and we're working with the University of Iowa Department of Emergency Medicine and the National Advanced Driving Simulator to address issues involving ATV safety. All right, show of hands, how many of you think this child is absolutely adorable? There we go. This was Max Deacon, a 4-year-old from Tennessee. So he is now a statistic due to a tragic ATV crash. His parents did not know of the risks involved. How many of you guys own an ATV? All right, we'll see what happens when I say how many of you guys have ever ridden an ATV. That's a much higher number, and it's statistically true. His family, I don't think owned an ATV, but he was at a friend's house, and he and a 2-year-old hopped onto a child ATV and took off. The parents tried to stop them, but the 2-year-old inadvertently hit the full throttle button, and the ATV took off. It was a gas-powered children's toy. It soon flipped, and it catapulted both riders off and landed on Max's head. He was killed immediately. There have been many incidents like this, and not many of them are isolated to Tennessee. Nationwide, there are 99,600 ATV injuries in 2014. The grieving families affected by this have formed a coalition called Concerned Families for ATV Safety. This is just a sample of the kids who've died in the last 18 months from ATV crashes. Not us included. You can see most recent death. Did you guys hear of the Muscatine County Lucas Thomas? He died from an ATV crash. 36 ATV deaths occurred in 2014 in Iowa alone. Our team has been working tirelessly to change those statistics. So we have Sam Ross as our chief website developer, and Tyler Hedgewald, Ty Boff are working as website developers. And then we have Macy Donahue, who is our website content researcher. She works to identify what data and what articles are going into the website. And then I, Alexi, too, am working on a public service announcement, and I'm also the project spokesperson. We're working with many business partners. We have, besides National Advanced Driving Simulator and the Department of Emergency Medicine, which we work very closely with, these are all the business partners that are currently working with ATV safety. We have many partners in health, Safe Kids for Johnson County, and Iowa Academy of Family Physicians. We have Iowa departments like the Department of Transportation, Department of Natural Resources, and we also are funded in part by State Farm and Grinnell Mutual Insurance. All right, so our problem is that ATV injuries and deaths are high among underage users. So in Iowa, we surveyed 100 students at Clear Creek, Amana, and although 33% said they owned an ATV, 58% said they actually had ridden an ATV. 27% of injuries occurred to children. 20% of ATV injuries happened to children 2002 to 2013. And similarly to our survey, the UI also did a survey and found that among school children, more than half had been in at least one crash. The risks are very high. No Iowa state restrictions exist for children 6 and up riding adult ATVs, which can easily hit 30 miles per hour, same with the children ATVs. So, thus, 95% of children fatalities occur on adult ATVs. The primary cause, which our team is addressing, is that general public awareness of ATV safety is not very high. Many parents and children are uninformed about general ATV safety. There are no state requirements for ATV operator training and licensing, and less than 5% of Iowa youths and adults had any formal ATV training, and most of those courses lasted maximum was a day. Most Iowa youth and adults surveyed did not know ATV safety rules like wearing a helmet, the weight limit on ATVs, and although the UI did make a school-based program that reached over 1,200 kids, that took 3 years in the making, and now they're hoping for more creative and more effective approaches to educate the general public. As you can see from this picture, no helmet, and there are 3 kids on that, 1 adult, and that is a very dangerous situation. You can tell the young child is riding on an adult ATV. So our proposed solution is to educate the public using multiple strategies. Our 2 main strategies at this point are developing a public service announcement to post on social media so that we can reach out to teen ATV riders. We also plan to put a website with ATV information and safety laws and tips for any buyers and the parents that will research this further. For our public service announcement, we surveyed 100 Clear Creek Amana students, and we conducted research on a similar public service announcement campaign for anti-smoking. How many of you remember that? All right. So we were researching it to find what move for our public service announcement would most effectively get our point across to these ATV riders. And according to USA Today, for anti-smoking, the most effective way to get a smoker to quit is to scare, shock, or disgust him. So we conducted 5 recorded interviews with ATV users and 4 non-recorded interviews with other ATV users. And we're going to use the recorded ones. We're going to include those in our public service announcement. We also received videos from Dr. Denning, who's here right now. She's with the UI Emergency Medicine Department. And we also developed a theme and story for our public service announcement. For our website, we created the website and published ATV safety articles. We took those from the Concerned Families for ATV Safety as well as some Iowa newspapers that address that. We created visual presentations presenting the research that we've conducted, and we also created an Iowa ATV Parks page for users so that they can more safely ride ATVs. And we also made an Iowa ATV laws page showing the current ATV laws in Iowa. For our next steps for our public service announcements, we plan to continue developing our public service announcements and explore funding for dissemination. We also plan to focus group test this among our target audience, and we will revise this. Once we've revised it, we'll post it on website, and we'll also put it on social media. Then we'll direct viewers to our website using search engine optimization. We plan to get this out there so that the parents who see this will do a follow-up and just check out what their teen is doing on this toy. For our website, we'll plan to continue developing the website. We'll create interactive forums for users so they can share their stories, their tips for ATV riding, and how they've been impacted by this. We'll also add the University of Iowa school-based system and transfer our data and materials eventually to the University of Iowa Emergency Medicine Department. The UI will also use part of this pitch to ask Grinnell Mutual Insurance for continual funding for this project. As you can tell from the board, there are so many kids who've already died from ATV accidents. You know someone who's under 16? They could be next on this unless we actively combat this situation. Will you join us in saving lives, saving health, and saving healthcare resources? Thank you.